I think the agriculture minister has spent a lot of time interacting with states to tell them what actually is Vikasit Bharat Gram, uh, the G Ramji program is about. It is not about money. We have continuously given. That's why you heard expenditure secretary say Monrega, balance which had to be carried forward, had to be provisioned for, we had to pay them back. Although inefficiently spent, we have to still give them though, we made the provision. And Viksit Bharat Ji Ramji, as was at the time of the act getting passed, whatever was predicted was going to be provided, we provided for that. So I think there need not be any doubts in the minds of what is going to happen about rural employment guarantee. In a way, the new scheme actually understands how efficiently it can function on the ground. Inefficiencies have been removed from it, and the money allocation proves that we have put the money where we spoke about. So that's fine. All disinvestments which have been approved by the cabinet earlier, that list will continue to be before us and we will carry forward every such. And on specific, if you want to know, we have our Deepam secretary. Please do tell.
I think one thing we must keep in mind is that we follow a composite strategy, and disinvestment and closure have to be seen together as part of that composite strategy, which enhance or increase the participation and efficiency of the private sector. As part of that strategy, as Honorable FM said, whatever in principle approvals we have obtained for both disinvestment and closure, say about 50 of them, half of them have already been completed, which means about 12 closures and 13 strategic disinvestment transactions. The other ones are on track. That is why we keep aspirational targets, because we are fully on track and fully committed to completing each one of them and taking to a logical conclusion. Thank you.
IDBA inclusive.
Yes.
81, that side.
नमस्ते मैं
हाँ
नमस्ते मैं कृष्ण मोहन शर्मा भारत एक्सप्रेस से। मेरे दो छोटे छोटे सवाल हैं। एक तो मुझे याद है कि दीपावली के दिन मैंने पूछा था कि फार्मास्यूटिकल सेक्टर में क्या करेंगे, तो आज आपने पिटारा बोल दिया उसके। आई एम वेरी हैप्पी। दूसरा सवाल ये है मैं कि यूनिवर्सिटी टाउनशिप बनाने की आपने 5 बात की, क्योंकि डेवलप्ड इंडिया के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। लेकिन प्राइमरी एजुकेशन और सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन जो कि हमारे बैकबोन है ग्रोथ का भारत के लिए, उसके लिए इसमें क्या है? और दूसरा, अभी मैं एक शो करके आया, उसमें लोग पूछ रहे थे कि मिडिल क्लास के लिए बजट में क्या है?
मिडिल क्लास के लिए
बजट में क्या है?
हायर एजुकेशन के लिए जब हम 5 यूनिवर्सिटी हब्स बनाने जा रहे हैं, it is very important to recognize that आज प्राइवेट सेक्टर में यूनिवर्सिटीज बहुत आ रहे हैं, स्टेट्स का मन लग रहा है कि और हायर एजुकेशन सेंटर्स जरूर है, होना चाहिए। इन सब को सुनने के बाद हम हायर एजुकेशन में और ऑप्शंस ले आ रहे हैं, जिससे हर तरह का कोर्स उस हब्स में बने और स्टूडेंट्स डोंट नीड टू गो आउट इन केस उनको वीसा नहीं मिला और बोरोइंग करके जाना है। उस क्वालिटी का एजुकेशन भारत में ही हो, इसीलिए जितने भी स्टेट्स को क्या बोलते हैं, चैलेंज मोड में आकर के बोलेंगे कि हम जमीन देने के लिए तैयार हैं, मल्टी स्पेशलिटी हॉस्पिटल जैसे बना है, ऐसे यूनिवर्सिटीज विद different types of courses can all come and set up, and this will also mean partnering with universities abroad. So higher education में जो flexibility के साथ function करना है और हमारे students जो बाहर जा रहे हैं उनको उसी क्वालिटी के एजुकेशन इधर देने का, ये ये नहीं कह रही हूँ मैं कि हमारे यूनिवर्सिटीज में क्वालिटी नहीं है, मगर एस्पिरेशनल लोग को कुछ और सर्टिफिकेट चाहते हैं, वो सर्टिफिकेट क्यों ना भारत में ही ना मिलना, व्हाई डोंट वी प्रोवाइड फॉर इट, एंड इसीलिए वो स्कीम ले आए. So it does not immediately mean that we are not going to be spending on primary and secondary. प्राइमरी एंड सेकेंडरी में इतनी सारे स्टेट्स के साथ कोलैबोरेट करते हुए पीएम श्री स्कूल हो, नवोदय विद्यालय हो, प्राइमरी से लेकर हायर सेकेंडरी तक बहुत सारे कदम पिछले 5 साल में उठाया गया. न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी आने के बाद उन सबको अभी भी सपोर्ट मिलेगा सेंटर से, हम कम नहीं कर रहे हैं.
22.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon. This is Survi from Business Today. Ma'am, firstly, I wanted to understand the impact of your tax proposals, both on the direct and indirect tax side, and as well as the net implication. Ma'am, secondly, a very basic question in terms of your new fiscal anchor on central government debt reduction. What are the measures that will be followed on that?
So on the new fiscal anchor, we, like it has been announced, the glide path will be continued, and fiscal deficit, in other words, shall be the operational target to attain the debt to GDP. So it's not that we are going away from the fiscal deficit, it's not going to be the monitorable target. The target will be the debt to GDP that we are going to be monitored, but both do work in tandem. That is understandable. That's the way we are handling this.
So I have already explained the growth rate for tax the next year. So if you look at the buoyancy, for example, for direct tax, we are taking the buoyancy would be around 1.14. So which shows that we expect that with all these reforms, the tax growth should become and would be growing at a rate faster than the economy itself. So we do expect the tax income, the tax revenues to be sufficiently buoyant in the coming year.
46.
Yes, sir.
Left.
Ma'am, this is Priyank from Money Control. I have two questions. One is on the GST. So the GST numbers that the target for FY27 is 2.5% lower than this year's target. So although there has been this is due to the reduction in rates, but when can we expect the growth to be in the positive territory? And second question on the nominal GDP number, have you taken under consideration the conclusion of the trade deal with US on the nominal GDP? And if it is concluded, can it be higher?
So the nominal GDP, as the CA explained, has been calculated on an as-is whereas basis, which includes the US-India trade deal as-is whereas. When things change, we will see how the data is.
Ma'am, since you mentioned that gross borrowing for FY27 is not particularly high, can we expect more buybacks this year as well to bring down subsequent repayments? And secondly, are you looking to switch bonds with the RBI as well to manage your repayments? You did this this year in May after a gap of 2 years. Thank you.
So the reason we do buybacks and switching is basically to reduce our repayment burden and to mitigate the bunching of effect, and also to manage the costs. So we did a significant switching of high coupon securities this year. Next year, this 5.5 lakh crores needs to be repaid. As they keep coming up, we will be taking decisions closer to those. While work is continuously going on this in one division of DBT.
24. Mike.
I'm the Rajesh Singh from ANI. My question, could you clarify some measures in the budget to boost savings? Because there was some demand by bankers for FDs to be linked with like equity benefit or an ES scheme was demanding some kind of tax benefit. Because we need greater savings for greater growth.
We need greater savings for greater growth, all right, and the banks know how to do it.
9.
Hi, this is Adija from Money Control. I had two questions. One was on the fact that the economic survey had also raised some concerns about states' fiscal health and their borrowing, putting pressure on the sovereign borrowing rates also. I just wanted to understand, has the center thought about how do we want to tackle this with the states, because we are targeting a debt to GDP ratio, but we know overall debt to GDP ratio is the anchor that most global agencies look at and, ideally needs to be looked at. Second, my question was on the FEMA rule changes. I just wanted to understand with the interaction with the investors or the stakeholders globally, what are the kind of demands or what are the kind of requests that are coming in, especially amid the status when it comes to foreign investor outflows. So, what are we looking at if we thought about anything yet?
Talking with states about their borrowing can only be done as a nudge conversation. Beyond that, the center cannot do. Equally, if you look at it, the center is also under Article 293.3, duty bound to make sure that the borrowings of the states are also monitored in a way. We can't curb them, but beyond their FRBM, we can sit with them and have a conversation. But that's about where it is, and I think largely states understand their duty under the FRBM Act. So I leave it there to understand. But on this question, the next question will be NDA.
So on the NDI rules, there is a whole bunch of suggestions that we've got, but it's not like a review has started in a serious public consultation in a structured way started. So there have been, I don't remember from the top of my head, but some things on the definition of FDI itself, some investors have raised. And there are other such things, but when we like Pam has announced today that a review will be taken place, when we start the process formally, there will be formal interaction with investors and we'll take it forward.
237 थर्ड रो इसके बाद दो लोग बचे हैं लास्ट टू क्वेश्चंस आफ्टर दिस
I'm Nikun Thori from Reuters. I have two questions. One on your announcement on exempting foreign companies that provide capital assets or equipments to contract manufacturers. They have been given a 5-year exemption. So will that help the likes of Apple and Samsung that have been ramping up production in India but face some tax uncertainty? And second, on the tax holiday for data centers. Would that be extended to existing companies that have existing foreign companies that have data centers? And lastly, there was a suggestion in the economic survey. I want to ask you whether the government would look at implementing it on diluting government stake in listed public sector companies. It suggested that you amend the definition of a government company to Companies Act and then lower your stake. So will that be given a serious thought? Thank you. See, the contract manufacturing, that is the toll manufacturing exemption that has been given, essentially is for the companies which will give their capital goods. There will be no transaction, there will be no sale, no lease. It's just given because they have some reason to do it, business reason to do it. And it is utilized by the entity here to manufacture. So this will be in a bonded zone, customs bonded zone. Therefore, we are saying that if you bring your machine, and that machine is used by a local manufacturer to produce something, we will not consider this to be a PE connection to India, and we'll exempt you for 5 years. I mean, for 5 years, the possibility of it being PE because its machine is being used here is something we are giving him certainty by saying that we'll be exempting you for 5 years. So there'll be, for example, if a big company sends its proprietary manufacturing, testing, or some tools and machines here, and because of which its global income gets into the risk of being taxed, is what we are giving certainty on by saying that for 5 years it will be exempt.
The second part of your question, if you read the economic survey carefully, it talked about two alternatives. One is that we change the definition of a government company and bring it down from 51 downwards. And the second is we bring the equity below 51 following a consortium or a joint venture approach where it may not be a government company, but it will still be a public or a government controlled company, which gives it more flexibility to operate. And as you know, economic survey is an ideation document. Once we consider that in the policy framework, we also have the Atmanirbhar Policy 21, which is doing very well. We will weave it all together. It is policy in evolution. And we will consider all these aspects before taking a step forward. Thank you.
11.
So your nominal GDP assumption is pretty conservative this year. Given that CA has given a growth rate of 7.2%, so are we assuming inflation at 2.8% for the year? And does that show that inflation is structurally down in India?
Inflation is down in India and it is remaining there for some time. And inflation is just not the only one which is a deflator, but however, largely you depend on that. And I think therefore the assumption of the nominal GDP is realistic. So we cannot, for the reasons well known that you want a nominal GDP to be a higher number, cannot bring in factors which are beyond the usual calculation.
One here.
I think we can take 137. Take the mic.
I'm Rakesh Kumar from New Indian Express. My question is around the electronic manufacturing, as you allocated 40,000 crore rupees. So just want to know, does it include the ISM 2.0 amount?
Does it include what?
Indian Semiconductor Mission.
That's a separate now. ISM 2.0 is separate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You already asked. Thank you very much.
Again, look.